This video is all you need to become a wildly successful online fitness coach and become unrecognizable to those around you. Now, I've been speaking to a lot of personal trainers recently who say they want the 10K months, they want the freedom, they want this, they want that. Yet they're still operating under their old identity, not the identity of the person that they're trying to become. So obviously, if you're taking actions that don't align with this new character, then you're going to stay stuck, you're going to stay stagnant, and they wonder why they haven't been able to make any progress over the last 6 months. So by you watching this video, you'll be able to see all the components that you need to have in place in order to make that identity shift and actually start performing the actions that align with the person that you want to come. So let's get into it. So in order to reinvent yourself, you have to destroy the version of you that you have been comfortable with. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, guys. It's cliche, we've all heard it before, but it's true. Yet people are still operating in what they see as comfortable because they're scared to take that leap. They're scared to put themselves out there and they're scared to fail. But guys, the people who are most successful are the ones who failed the most. So you have to make a decision. It's completely up to you, right? You're in charge of the way you think, the way you act. And if you want something, then you need to go and get it. So let's get into it. Let's look at the overview here. So we're going to cover the driver, the vehicle. Now, this is an analogy I use. There's only two things that are going to get you to your goal. One is you, the driver, and the second thing is the vehicle. If you have the perfect vehicle, the perfect systems, the perfect strategy, the perfect business model, but you as the driver are not willing to actually drive that to the end destination, then you're not going to get there. Equally, you might have the most highest work ethic of anyone you know, but if you're just focusing on the wrong things, then obviously you're going to stay stuck. So we've got the driver, we've got the vehicle, we've got skill acceleration, engineering your environment, psychological fortification, and then review and your action points. So let's get straight into it. So the driver, right? Success, you can have the best offer, systems, strategies, but if you don't have the mental resilience to keep pushing forward to your desired outcome and actually do the work required, then it's not going to happen, okay? If you don't change your identity, which is super important, then you'll drag the same problems into your new life like rotting luggage you never unpack. The reason most transformations fail isn't because people lack effort, it's because they try and staple new habits onto the same old self-image where they're comfortable, right? So if you start going too far out of your comfort zone too soon, then your old identity is just going to bring you back. So without clarity on the outcome that you're trying to build here, you're driving without a sat nav, okay? So having a clear vision about where you're trying to go, what you want your life to look like is super important, because you might be working hard, you might be putting in all the effort in the world, but if it's pointed in the wrong direction, then you're not going to get to that end destination. So most coaches are focused on surviving the current month because they've never clearly defined what they're actually building towards, how they want their life to look, and the model and the actions that are required to actually get them there. So this obviously kills your ability to make good decisions because they're not aligned with where you're trying to go. So your results will always regress to whatever your internal standard of normal is. So coaches who hit 5K per month, and they stay there, they don't tend to have a strategy problem. They have a standard problem, right? They feel what feels acceptable sets the ceiling, right? So you keep operating in that same identity. But the thing about business is that you have to keep leveling up. It's literally a game of personal development. Typically, obviously, there is a lot of strategies out there, tactics, methods, they all work, right? There's always someone who teaches it. But if you're always hopping around, not following through with one thing, then you're never going to get that compounding interest. So relationship with discomfort, right? The gym floor rewards showing up and working hard. Online rewards patience, positioning, and doing things that feel uncomfortable before you actually see a return on investment. That's why a lot of people give up. So if you need instant feedback to stay motivated, then the transition is going to break you. Self-image. This is probably one of the most important things that people overlook. Most coaches privately believe that they're not far enough along, not credible enough, not polished enough. That belief will leak into your pricing, your content, your sales calls. Because if you have this poor self-image and you don't deep down believe that you are the person who should be making 20K per month, making a big impact in the market, then your old identity is just going to keep pulling you back. Your self-image is going to be your biggest bottleneck and you're just going to end up self-sabotaging your progress. Ownership. Now, this is step one to achieving anything great, and it's non-negotiable, right? Until you fully accept that you are responsible for everything that happens, your results, your income, your progress, your client results, you are always going to be a victim of your circumstances. So no one is coming to save you. Excuses don't serve you, and blame doesn't. You are the guarantee here, right? You're the one who's going to do the work. You're the one that's going to get you to the end result. And the coaches who move the fastest are the ones who stopped waiting for the right conditions and started treating every outcome as a direct reflection of their own standards and decisions. So let's take a look at the vehicle now, okay? Obviously, one is the model. The business model is the container everything sits inside. So if you get this wrong, no amount of skill or effort is going to fix it. And there are only two questions that actually matter, right? How do you acquire clients and how do you fulfill them? Again, the model has to reflect what it is you're trying to do, what you want your life to look like, how you want your business to look. So I call this lifestyle design. So this is why a lot of personal trainers are working in a model that doesn't align with what they actually want in life and how they want their life to look, yet they still do it regardless. So every month that goes by where you're working in a model that doesn't serve you, to be honest, you're just completely wasting your time. So we've got two engines here, right? The one that gets you clients and the one that fulfills on your offer. So the acquisition engine is the system that consistently brings the right people to you. It's not just random posting what you feel like. It's not cold outreach. It's not just hoping people refer you, right? It's a repeatable process. It's a system from point A, from someone being a stranger to becoming a client, with set systems inside to get people along that buyer's journey that turns them into a client, right? And this is just an engine that keeps on running all the time. Then you've got your fulfillment engine, right? So how you deliver results without trading every hour of your day for money. So if your delivery model requires constant presence, then you're just building a separate job that is the same as what you were doing on the gym floor. The person, okay, this is who you're actually targeting. Now, people have the luxury of choice online. If you're just trying to please everyone, then you're going to end up pleasing no one. So the biggest mistake a lot of coaches make is they try to appeal to everyone. The market doesn't reward being general anymore. It rewards specificity, right? The supply is growing so rapidly that if you're just being a generalist, people are just going to overlook you so easily. So you need to know exactly who you're targeting before anything gets built, because this is the foundation to everything. Next is positioning. So if you're not positioning yourself, your offer, with one specific person in mind, what they believe right now, what do they want, why are they stuck, and why your philosophies over other ways of thinking, the more precisely you can answer that, then the less you have to sell. Okay, so if you imagine yourself on a level playing field with every other coach, your positioning and your message is what puts you above them in the eyes of the prospect and your potential clients. If you're not able to do this effectively, then you're at a massive disadvantage and you're constantly going to be swimming upstream. Then we've got the psychology. Okay, so people don't buy coaching. They buy the belief that their situation can change, right? They don't care about anything else. They just want to know that you can get them to the end result. So understanding the psychological triggers behind why your specific person decides to invest, what limiting beliefs are holding them back from taking action, and how you can actually reduce the friction from the point of seeing you to them ultimately taking action, creating a sales opportunity. Next, we have offer, right? So a weak offer forces you to sell hard, sleazy sales tactics, all of this sort of stuff. But if you have to go down that route, things are broken before that point, right? A strong offer makes the decision feel obvious, and most coaches are selling a process where they should be selling a transformation. One specific outcome for one specific person with a clear mechanism of how you get the result. Marketing, right? The only job of this is to reduce the time it takes for a stranger to trust you enough to buy it. That's exactly what marketing is. So if you're just posting randomly, then that's not marketing, right? You're just operating a personal blog. Every piece of content has a role and it sits, but on this journey, whether it's top of funnel or bottom of funnel, and it all serves a purpose. So you've got top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Top of funnel is what grabs their attention by reflecting the exact frustration that your ideal client persona is already feeling, and that's why they follow you. So they should watch it and think, this person gets me. If you're targeting too many people, then what's going to happen is you're going to get a big variety of people in your ecosystem. The rest of your content is not going to resonate with them. And yeah, you'll get follows, you'll get likes, but you're going to be in this trap where you're really going to struggle to actually convert these people into a sales opportunity. So middle of funnel is what actually builds conviction. This is what nurtures people. So this is where you explain the why behind your methodology and separate yourself from all the other coaches who say the same thing. Bottom of funnel is what actually converts them. So proof, results, case studies, call to actions, right? Speaking to people who are already warm, they know who you are, they just need a reason to move and a clear path to take action. Then you've got the sales mechanism. So when the rest of the vehicle is working properly, sales stops being this awkward performance and just starts being more of a confirmation, okay? If you do things right before the sales call, then you don't need to do any crazy, sleazy tactics in order to convert them, because everything before that point should have done the heavy lifting for you. So there's two parts of this. There's DM setting and then the sales call itself. DM setting, right? We don't do cold outreach. It does not work. If you want to try it, be my guest, but it's no way to run a business. Okay, you may as well just go out, knock on people's doors, ask if they want to lose weight. It's stupid. Don't do it. We use a warm outreach strategy. So anyone that expresses interest, likes your stuff, follows you, comments, anything like that, then you as the business owner need to be proactive and intercept that as soon as possible in order to identify and qualify potential buyers. If you don't do this, then potential clients are going to be slipping through the cracks, right? Most people will not reach out to you directly. They need to be intercepted. They need to have a clear path to take action. Then we've got anti-selling, which is basically just what I call my philosophy around selling, right? I don't really agree with the sleazy car salesman vibes. Fitness coaching especially is a very emotional decision. So a lot of these sales tactics are aimed at B2B, where it's more logical, right? Where you're fighting against logic, whereas fitness coaching, they have to believe in you as a person. They have to see that you care. And by you pushing too hard, you're just going to end up pushing people away. So by this point, they should be 80% sold anyway. The call is just confirmation, shouldn't be any convincing. I always say sell like a doctor, right? You're just there to diagnose and prescribe the solution to their problems. So if you're having to persuade people, if you're getting a lot of weird objections, then typically it means what you have in place before the sales call is not doing its job. Then we've got delivery. So how you get client results without burning out. You shouldn't have to be there coaching them all the time, right? I know that goes against what you're used to. If you're a personal trainer, you're used to hand holding and people not really caring that much. But with online, you need to productize your brain a bit more, right? You need a model that's more leveraged and systems, frameworks, structured support that you can do. Let's say you have a video check-in, you can do all your check-ins on a Monday. It's a lot more leveraged and you can do it in bulk, right? Then we've got the data. So obviously feelings lie, but numbers don't. So if you don't know your conversion rates and your KPIs, then you're basically driving blind. So data tells you exactly where the system is leaking so you can fix the biggest constraint at any given time. It's super important. Probably the biggest skill you can have as a business owner is being able to identify what the biggest constraint is and apply your focus. So let's move on to skill development or skill acceleration, sorry. So first is awareness, right? Knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are in the business. Most coaches waste months trying to fix things that don't actually matter while ignoring the one constraint that's actually holding everything back. You can't solve a problem that you haven't correctly identified. Then we move on to prioritization. So there's always going to be 10 different things that you could be doing, right? But always ensuring that your efforts are being spent on the highest leverage tasks at any one given time. Busy and productive are not the same thing, right? The coaches who move the fastest are not doing more, believe it or not. They're just doing the right things in the right order and applying their focus, which moves us on to your focus, right? Which is just the ability to actually execute on those tasks that you've identified and follow through to completion without falling victim to shiny object syndrome. And this is very applicable to people who use free content online, is that you're always being pulled in different directions. Okay, you're always being marketed to. Obviously, everyone is trying to sell their way of doing things, their philosophy. So you never truly know what is the best path for you. So you have to be able to block out all the noise and just stick to one path. So a half-built system produces zero results. One thing finished beats 5 things started every time, and actually just being able to stick on one path and one blueprint. Next, we have volume, right? So a lot of people underestimate just the amount of touch points and volume you actually need in order to take someone from a stranger to a client. It's not always about having the best content. It's just about having the right message and drilling it home over and over again until they buy from you. So repetition is basically how these skills actually get built, right? Taking action is the best teacher. So your first 10 pieces of content are going to be average. Your first 10 sales calls are going to be uncomfortable, but that's not the problem, right? That's just part of the process. The coaches who get good fastest are the ones who are willing to fail more times and be bad, but just keep following the process anyway. Feedback loops, all right? So it's all well and good having these systems in place, which is basically just an input, a process, and output. But you have to have a loop, right? Where you're iterating, where you're looking at the output of what you're doing in order to refine it and to make each system better over time. So without feedback, you're just repeating the same mistakes over and over again with a delusional, blind sense of confidence. Then we've got proximity, right? So the fastest way to compress your timeline is to invest in being around people who are already where you want to go. A mentor who has done what you're trying to do gives you something no course or free content can, which is direct feedback on your specific situation, access to how they think, and a new reference point for what is normal. And the circle you're in sets the ceiling for what's actually possible. And going back to the mindset thing and identity thing, those negative feelings, that doubt, that uncertainty is always going to drag you back until you have that certainty that you are following the correct blueprint. Strip everything away so that all you have to do is execute, and you have that person by your side in order to give you reviews, course correct you when needed, and so forth. Okay, so engineering your environment. Okay, physical environment, where you work and how it's set up matters more than most coaches realize. A dedicated workspace with your recording set up, always out, ready to go, removes that micro friction that turns "I'll do it later" into not doing it at all, right? Chaos in your environment creates chaos in thinking. If you don't have a setup that you're actually proud of, then nothing's going to pull you to do the work. Information diet, so free content, right? It's all over the place, and you become the average of what you consume. So whether it's just content that's not serving you, or it's free content from multiple different sources that's always pulling your brain in different directions, you have to just pick out a few people whose model you can replicate and actually go all in and just focus on that until you start getting the results that you're looking for. And the coaches drowning in information are consuming 50 different opinions and executing on none of them, right? There's only so much learning you need before taking action. Then taking action and looking at the data is what guides your decision-making process. Digital environment. So I don't use notifications. They're not needed, right? I've done this for 2 years now. Never been a problem. You do not need notifications on your phone. Turn it off, check things manually when you have free time. Your phone shouldn't even be in the room during deep work, and you need to be using social media as a tool, not a habit. So be deliberate about who you follow, right? Audit your feed and only keep accounts that serve where you're going and that could be a good source of inspiration. People who are operating at the level that you want to reach, whose content gives you a genuine insight or inspiration. Most people's feeds are just a graveyard of accounts they followed for years, friends, family who don't serve them. And what you consume passively shapes how you think, whether you're paying attention or not. It's a very subconscious thing, so you have to be very intentional about what you're consuming. Social circle, right? You are the people you spend the most time with set the baseline for what feels normal. So if everyone around you thinks 5K per month or working in a gym is great money and is the best route forward, then you're going to naturally fall into that crowd. So you don't have to cut people off necessarily, but you just have to be deliberate about the kind of people that you're seeking to hang around with who are operating at a high level, right? And this kind of changes your reference point faster than any mindset work can. Calendar design, right? Your calendar is your strategy made visible. Protected deep work blocks, a non-negotiable content day, no reactive mornings. You need to design the week before it designs itself. So if the important work isn't scheduled, then the urgent work always wins. So what I mean by that is you need to protect times where you're actually growing the business and being a CEO as opposed to just reactive things and going through the motions, right? You have to be deliberate about the blocks you're putting in and the work you want to achieve in order to get to that end goal. Health foundations, right? As a personal trainer, it's no secret that sleep, training, nutrition is super important. So this is your performance infrastructure. A depleted operator makes worse decisions, produces lower quality content, just goes through the motions, and has less resilience when things get hard. So you know this better than anyone, right? The question is whether you're applying it to your own business or you're just serving your clients, you're just speaking theory, but not actually practicing what you preach. Identity anchors. So small environmental cues that keep you connected to the version of yourself you're building towards. Anything that you associate with the old you that doesn't serve you needs to go. So one thing I do is I keep a vision board on my desk, right? It's no secret, but this is different from just aimless journaling. You're literally seeing every day what it is you're trying to achieve when you're doing your work. So it's super important. Just an A4 piece of paper, you can make it on Canva, collect 8 to 10 pictures of the life you want, and just keep it there every single day when you work. And elimination over optimization. So most people try to add better habits into a cluttered life. So you don't need to do cold plunge. You don't need to do journaling. You don't need to do all this shit if you're already struggling to do the things that you should be doing anyway, right? You need to eliminate as much as possible, simplify your life, and make sure the needle movers are actually being done. So this is the highest leverage thing, right? You only have so much focus in a day, so you need to make sure that focus is where it should be and is completely optimized without adding more things to your schedule. Psychological fortification, right? These are the things that may hold you back. Imposter syndrome, the feeling that you're not credible enough to charge what you charge or own the position that you're claiming, right? Every coach feels this. It's completely normal, especially if you're comparing yourself to others online. So, it never fully disappears. The reframe is it's a signal that you're growing and not evidence that you're a fraud, and you need to act anyway. The more reps you put in, the more you're going to see yourself as this person who you're trying to be. Shiny object syndrome, right? Losing conviction in your current strategy the moment something new looks more appealing or results aren't coming in fast enough. This is the fastest way to kill your momentum, right? The more you pivot, the more you kill that compounding interest of your efforts. Self-sabotage, okay? So hitting a new level, then unconsciously pulling back to what feels familiar. And when results exceed it, the subconscious corrects back to baseline. You have to be very cautious and aware of this so that you can override it manually when things start to feel uncomfortable and just do the work anyway. And these small documented wins, if you're conscious of them, are what's going to then keep you pushing forward towards the person who you want to be. Delayed gratification. So the gym floor gives you instant feedback. The online doesn't, unfortunately. So there's a lag between input and output, especially those first 3 months. I call it universe's test, where basically you're just putting in a shit ton of work. You're not seeing anything for it, but it's all invisible compounding interest behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden the results smack you in the face. But most people give up. This is the problem. So, it could be weeks, it could be months, but you just have to keep following a proven strategy over and over again until you start seeing results. Identity lag, right? So your results can move faster than your self-image is ready for. So you hit 10K per month, it feels like a fluke instead of the new normal. So you shrink back, close the gap deliberately through your environment and your standards, or your results will keep reverting back to whatever your self-image thinks is appropriate. A lot of people, they get a little spike and then they take their foot off the gas instead of fully embracing it and leaning into it, right? I even experienced this myself, had a few good spikes a couple of years ago, and then I'll take my foot off the gas, focus on the clients instead of just keeping this engine moving, keeping it compounding, because even though it doesn't feel scary on the surface, subconsciously your brain is trying to keep you in a safe place, right? So you have to be willing to push through that. Comparison trap. So the only useful comparison is you versus you, right? Last month, 90 days ago, you're just running your own race here. You have to look at the data and just make sure that you're always improving. So social media can be very deceiving. It only gives you a small preview of how someone is doing, and it's easy to look at an account and think, wow, they're doing really well. But everything behind the attention is hidden and you really have no idea. So let's look at the action items here. So the driver, write down the specific outcome and lifestyle that you're building towards. Get out your head, get it onto paper and make it visual. Identify the one belief that's currently capping your pricing, your confidence, what it is you're trying to do. And that's the first thing to address. The vehicle, right? Define your person who you're trying to target, your outcome. And if you can't explain this in a few sentences, who you help and what changes for them, then the vehicle is not ready, because you can't build anything around bad foundations. So you want to audit your current offer. Are you just selling the process, like training plan, nutrition plan, check-ins? Or are you actually selling transformation here? Skill acceleration. So you want to identify your biggest constraint right now, not the list, not the things you need to get done, the biggest constraint in your business that's holding you back. And that's where your focus needs to be. Commit to volume in that area. 30 days of reps of getting 1% better every day and actually putting in enough volume for things to actually take effect and to start to change. Engineering your life environment. Set up a permanent recording space this week, right? Desk, whatever you need to perform well and to be excited about working, just get it, right? Invest in it. Remove the friction. Audit your feed and information. Cut anything that isn't serving you. Only follow accounts that you look up to who are in a similar position to you, but a little bit further ahead. So every time you doom scroll, you're being fed information that's actually useful, content ideas and things like that. And if you're following like business coaches and things, avoid doing too much learning. Just follow one person, everything that they teach, and go like that. Engineering your environment, right? Build your vision board and put it where you work. Psychological fortification, write down the psychological threat most likely to derail you from doing everything in this video, and be aware of it, okay? That's the first line of defense. Now, if you want to book a roadmap call where we basically dive into your business, figure out your biggest constraint, and what's actually holding you back from getting to 10K per month, just book a call below. We'll go through it together, and I'll see you there. Cheers. See you later.